I'm here with Ella Davar, gut health and longevity expert, and also the most inspiring voices in wellness today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So we're gonna start with your favorite smoothie go-to?
Sure. One of the recipes from my book, Cooking for High Performers, one of the first books that I wrote. And I've been featured with over 30 different recipes on different news channels in Florida and in New York. This recipe today is a green smoothie. It's called matcha and avocado smoothie. We're going to pack up some of the best polyphenols and antioxidants for our liver to detoxify and to make our gut healthy. You want to start?
Sure.
All right, so the key to a healthy smoothie, there's 7 different steps. And when we are drinking a smoothie, we really want to make it a balanced meal. We don't want to just pack up bananas and strawberries. That's a classic recipe of Americans. We want to pack up protein, fats, fiber, antioxidants, and carbohydrates. Let's not be afraid of those. All right, if we begin thinking about a smoothie like that, what's your go-to ingredient that you want to talk about today?
Actually, my personal question, if banana is a good fruit to eat?
Well, whenever people are asking me a generic question like, is it good for you, right? I mean, my question is good for who? Good for what reason? What are we trying to achieve? And why are we afraid of it, right? Is it you're probably thinking it's a high carbohydrate food,
and it
right?
spikes the sugar, right?
Yes.
High.
Well, the key to carbohydrate is not to avoid all of them because they spike sugar, right, and never eat them. The key is a balanced meal. So we want to focus on proteins and fats before carbohydrates to prevent blood sugar spiking. Have you ever wore the CGM? You should. I've been working with CGMs.
Are you wearing it now?
I'm not, but I've been working in helping my clients with that and coaching my clients based on that, on metabolic response to different carbohydrate foods for the last decade. And it's really life-changing. You really look at food differently because you see, if you're eating bananas, let's say with almond butter, it's a completely different blood sugar response. And we are going to use a lot of nuts and seeds in our smoothie today, so we don't need to be afraid. And the next thing, in addition to food composition, is amount, right? So all of my recipes for smoothies call for half of a banana. Okay, so half of a banana is a great portion. And usually, to have a half of, if it's 2 people, then we use a whole banana for you and I probably today. But half of a banana is a great, size for us not to have the blood sugar spike, but still get this creaminess in a recipe because we're using a lot of vegetables. And I'm someone who, this is the second ingredient after fruits. We're going to talk about vegetables. Not a lot of people add avocado and celery into their smoothies. And if you add spinach or parsley or avocado and celery to your smoothie, and you just don't add any creaminess to it, it becomes like a liquid salad. We don't want to have that, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's focus on vegetables.
How do you eat smoothie? You eat it as a separate meal?
Yeah.
Because if you're going to eat this smoothie,
exactly.
You're going to be very...
It's a breakfast meal, and the goal with each meal that we eat, the goal is to forget about the food for the next 4 hours. That means you had a balanced intake of protein, fats, and carbohydrates. But if you're hungry 2 hours later, and usually most people are eating cereals or oatmeal for breakfast, and then 2 hours later, they're all looking for a snack. That means your meal was not enough or high enough in protein intake, and that's why the blood sugar spike and then when it went down low, that's what causes food cravings.
So you start your day with a smoothie, different types of smoothies.
Not all the time. So I recently wrote a book called Feed Your Hormones. And following your hormonal changes during each phase of the luteal phase versus the phase right after your period, sometimes it's okay to have a smoothie for breakfast. And sometimes we need something higher in protein, something like eggs or avocados or smoked salmon. Things like that are more satiating, especially when we're in the luteal phase, right? What's called PMS. Mm-hmm. That's more satiating. But right after a period when we're higher in energy and our hormones are more balanced, that's when smoothies are a great choice. We start with fruits, right? Very easy to think, bananas or strawberries, some high glucose and usually delicious. Let's face it, smoothies for most people are associated with something sweet and delicious, isn't it? But as a dietitian and someone who you are interested in gut health, you'd realize that we don't want to overload on sweetness. We want to balance it out. So let's now focus on fiber, protein, and fats. The next thing I usually recommend vegetables. Celery is just all water and fiber, and it's a great way to balance out the sweetness of bananas. And then we'll be using some protein. In this case, we're using pea protein. Usually for this particular smoothie, I love to recommend walnuts. And this smoothie is actually, this recipe is featured at Google Offices. So, for those people that are running your engines, that's what they're loading up on. Yes, that's where I got inspired with this recipe, and they actually tweaked it out for me because these are all brain-boosting ingredients like avocado, matcha, and walnuts. That's exactly what we'll be using. These are the most powerful antioxidants, supportive of brain health, preventing of heart disease, and helps your liver to detoxify.
How much matcha?
Around like 1 teaspoon. Another problem with what I love solving with matcha or with smoothies is that, for example, people hate matcha. If they don't like the taste of matcha, this smoothie is a great way. Does your husband, he likes matcha?
I don't think so.
Exactly. Most men don't like matcha. And even women, like some people just don't like the taste of it. And this smoothie really solves the problem. And banana serves its purpose here. Because behind like the sweetness of banana, they can't even taste it, right? And my job as a dietitian, when I recommend high antioxidant food, my job is like to really make it happen for people. And when they're giving me these arguments like, I don't like matcha, what do? I recommend them this smoothie, okay? Let's keep going.
But matcha is very good for you, right?
It's exceptionally good.
Oh, interesting.
The amount of antioxidant, it's a special polyphenol called ECKG. It's I know so many heart surgeons that quit their job in hospitals and started developing matcha brands because of how powerful matcha is for heart disease prevention.
Any matcha brand, or you recommend specific brands?
I'm impartial to most of the brands. You just want to focus on the one that's been triple tested for heavy metals. You want to focus on the one that's ceremonial grade and really look for higher quality that comes from Japan. Exactly. All right, so now we have our matcha, we have our protein, we have our fiber, and healthy fats in there, okay? So for this nutrient-packed smoothie, I also, like I mentioned, I love using walnuts. We don't have walnuts today, so I'd rather use a teaspoon of chia seeds and flax seeds, which are, again, great sources of fiber, healthy fats, and some little bit of plant-based protein. So the dose is really important. We want to use 1 teaspoon, but because there's 2 of us, we'll use 2. Flax seeds. Chia seeds is incredible because it's got a little bit of omega-3s, which is a great source of plant-based healthy fats, because most of the sources that come with omega-3 are fish. And omega-3 is remarkably beneficial for brain health and preventative of dementia and Alzheimer's. So for anyone who's watching who had like cognitive decline in their families, that's what you want to load up on to prevent that from happening to you. All right. Next thing that usually I would put some vegetables like spinach. Here we don't have spinach, so we use celery instead. And we're basically good to go. We got proteins, we got healthy fats, we got healthy fibers in there, and sweetness. You see what I mean? Now it's a complete meal. So when I teach people it's like how to balance out your food intake, when you look at your plate, you have to have protein, fats, and fiber to balance out your carbohydrates intake. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, amazing. Let's do it.
All right, so the liquids. We forgot about the liquids.
You know what we forgot? Ginger.
That's true. We have ginger and apple over there. Ginger is anti-inflammatory spice, which is like 0 calorie, but it's so great for gut microbiome optimization. And you want to add a little bit of an apple here to give it a little bit more sweetness, because basically all we
Banana is not enough?
I mean, you're putting apple, so I gotta justify it, right?
And actually, apples, this is green, so that's
it's
not
green, yeah,
sweet.
it's the lowest in glucose content. What was I saying? I was saying something about liquids. That's what we need. So either plant-based milk or liquids or coconut water or even water. Sometimes I use like iced tea, iced matcha, or any liquids is good here, because most of the plant-based milks are like so heavy in like additives and preservatives that I'd rather not even bother. Exactly. Filtered water is great enough. Actually, it depends on like your consistency that you like, right? How do you like it, liquid or thick? I like it liquid, right? And because you have a powerful Vitamix smoothie, I highly recommend everyone to invest in the Vitamix. It lasts forever, and it's so great. Like for some of the recipes that I have here, we even use beets, some of the roots vegetables that are incredible to like consume in smoothies like this. And Vitamix is so powerful; it turns your beets and carrots into a smoothie.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, I'm proud of you for making a smoothie, not a juice.
Yes,
because most people are juicing their celery, which removes all the beneficial fiber, which is hugely beneficial for healthy gut.
But you don't think sometimes it's good to do only like 1 month of juicing?
No, totally.
Celery.
You got to have a balance. Yeah, you got to have a balance. But you don't want to be someone who's uneducated enough who only juices. And has no clue what to do with the pulp, which is so beneficial. Yeah. All right. So someone who's like has a very low sugar tolerance, which I congratulate in. Most people, I have to teach them like to use less berry. Most people just use pineapple, mango, and bananas in their smoothie, and they call it a smoothie.
Yeah.
I have to teach them like, no, that's sugar, sugar, and sugar. We gotta focus on protein, fibers, and anything else. So this is a complete meal. Having this, like at least 1 glass of this, supposed to keep you full for at least 3 to 4 hours. Cheers. To balance nutrition. What do you think? Need a spoon?
Very nice.
To eat it? Okay, so we got avocado, usually walnuts.
I like that I feel ginger. I love ginger.
Yeah. But what I love about it, and it's got matcha and avocado. And most people who hate matcha taste really love this. That's a win for me. That's a solution. Like you want to improve your husband's, for example, heart health. Matcha is one of the most powerful antioxidants to take naturally.
I learned something very important today. So what about you? What does your day looks like? You constantly eating super healthy, or sometimes you cheating?
Look, I travel a lot. Like my business really grown globally, and my school is now well known all over the world, and I do my best. You know, it's all about balance. But I do focus at every meal. I focus on protein and fiber at every meal, which helps me to stay satiated longer, and it helps with my gut microbiome, meaning like the fiber really helps me to stay healthy and glowing and detoxify on a daily basis. So that's what I teach my clients to, like as long as at every meal you have fiber and protein, you shouldn't be afraid of a little bit of carbohydrates. But the problem is when you eat carbohydrates on an empty stomach, that's when we create issues.
Let's be more specific.
Let's do this.
What exactly are you talking about? Give
bread
examples.
Basket. Okay, for example, you sit down at a dinner table and they bring you a bread basket. You know how many people are struggling to say no to it?
I love it, especially in Europe. And sorry, with the olive oil and salt.
But the worst thing to do is to eat carbs on an empty stomach, right? You want to wait until they bring you, like you said, olive oil or butter, or even an appetizer. You want to have an appetizer that's either fiber or protein, either like some sort of tartare or shrimp or steak or tuna or some white fish, or you want to have some vegetables for your...
And then you can eat it with the bread.
Exactly. And then you can even have pasta if you skip the bread. Or if you skip pasta and bread, then you can have a dessert. So we call it, in the nutrition world, we call it carbohydrate choice. You gotta have at least 1 carbohydrate per meal, because if you don't, you usually get cravings afterwards. And to prevent that, you want to focus on healthy carbohydrates at every meal, versus it's sweet potatoes or rice or quinoa or even pasta sometimes. And that's what I teach, especially so many of my clients are young girls, and they're all telling me how they're struggling with cravings, or like, you know, like they're going on these like restrictive diets like keto, or they go later and they learn how they shouldn't be afraid of carbohydrates. It's all about balance and creating a perfect food composition on every meal.
So what is the best snacking when you're traveling?
The best snacking, I love recommending high protein snacks. Like if you don't have access to fresh berries or fresh vegetables, sometimes I snack on these packets of olives. Zero carbs, mostly healthy fats. Sometimes I use like either beef jerky or salmon jerky.
Oh, by the way, yeah, that's a new thing which I discovered for myself. This way of, как это, вяленое?
Yeah, it's jerky. It's a dried beef.
Dried beef.
It's basically nature's protein snack. Like a protein bar, it's one ingredient, it's just a dried fish.
The most important, which brand? Because some brand, again, editing, I don't know for what.
You want to focus on the ones that are like a smaller business that are really focusing on like high quality. Exactly, grass-fed. I like Epic.
Oh yeah, I know Epic.
Yeah, and there's a couple of more that are like focused on high quality meats. Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. And nuts. I love snacking on nuts. And my other favorite protein bar to recommend is Fast Bar. You know, by Prolonged Fasting Bar. I love snacking on those. They're Italian nuts made with like macadamia, almonds, and like some pecans, and they like a touch of honey. It's definitely my go-to. And I include them at all my events.
What about eating after 6?
After 6, look, the best way and the cheapest and the most effective biohack for women to wake up glowing and to wake up hungry and full of energy is to avoid late night eating. Okay,
so 6 p.m.
3 to 4 hours before you go to bed. Depends when you go to bed.
Yeah.
I recommend going to bed at 10 o'clock.
Do you?
Really, yeah.
Oh.
Most of the times I do. And when I don't, I wake up cranky the next day. And I was like, this was not worth it, whatever kept me up last night. No, because of the deep sleep that we're getting and the REM sleep and, you know, because I track my sleep quality, really starts at like early in the night. Like, the recommendation is like ideally at 9 p.m. you should go to bed.
I know.
Yeah, I know. Miami lifestyle is not really conducive.
It's not about the Miami lifestyle.
What is it?
It's just like so many things to do with the kid. She's going to sleep at 10. By the time I put
No,
her...
but like children, usually they go to bed earlier, isn't it?
She would even stay till 12. It's difficult to wake her up in the morning.
She doesn't know any better, you know?
Yeah,
she's just excited about life. But ideally, usually they get exhausted, right? Because of the physical activity, the mental activity. When you get exhausted physically and mentally, because most adults only get exhausted mentally and then they stay up at night, it's called wired but not tired. So you really want, that's what physical activity comes into play. But going to bed, ideally, you know, most of my clients come to me and it's like, just try it. Try for 2 to 3 weeks and you will not regret it. You will love the way you feel going to bed, having this like sleep hygiene that we call, not just like, you know, toothbrushing hygiene, right? Sleep hygiene, and also avoiding late night eating. I don't even have to say anything about alcohol, do I?
You don't drink?
Not really, no. And I hate when I do. Like the next day, I'm just tired all day, and I was like, this was not worth it.
I agree.
It costed me my energy, robbed me off my exuberance the next day, and I was like, I don't like the way that feels. But of course, I celebrate. That's not the same thing with alcohol that I recommended with carbs. Avoid drinking ethanol-containing beverages like alcohol on an empty stomach, because the ethanol really crosses the brain and blood barrier very quickly if it's consumed on an empty stomach. So even if you're at a cocktail party, look for fats, proteins, and fiber. And only after that, drink your alcohol.
So you hosted some amazing longevity lunches, dinners. How did this idea come to your mind?
So after years of working on TV, you know, I used to have my office and my practice at the #1 wellness resort in Miami, where I worked one-on-one with a lot of clients. And then working on TV, making all these recipes and really being committed to like educating the public, what I realized that the best way to educate people is not by lecturing, speaking on the stage, or even recording reels on Instagram or on TV. It's really by creating these experiences for people. And I became a dietitian because I love eating good food and I love hosting and I love feeding people. And I just turned that into a business idea. I turned that into an event. It started out here in Miami a little over a year ago, and in a year I've hosted it worldwide. London, Zurich, all over Switzerland, New York, Los Angeles, and, you know, Palm Beach, Mar-a-Lago, and the White House, the next event. It really came out of this, my desire to connect with a bigger audience, but more authentically, really like heart to heart, you know, because these events, another thing I'll tell you, like when I'm on stage or when I'm on TV or I'm with a client, I feel like I'm very masculine. I feel like I'm very, like I have to give people, I have to provide, I have to give knowledge, right? Versus when I host these events, I step back into like a feminine role and everyone's like, think they come for a lecture, and I'm like, no, the lecture is already on the table. I just want you to enjoy. And everyone's like, I want everyone to shine. I want everyone to contribute. Absolutely everyone at my event is a speaker. You know what I mean? Because I invite leaders. I really, my job is to educate the public, but most of my clients are high-profile individuals, and I unite people from different industries, some of the most brilliant minds from different industries, hospitality, finance, media, because I have a background. I don't know if you know that about me. I used to work on Wall Street, so I know I really connect with finance and hedge funders, and then I work on TV, so all the media producers, like from every news channel, like I know all of them, and those are the people that I invite, and I make sure that everyone gets to learn from each other. Everyone gets to share their story, their struggles, and that's how we create these connections and networking opportunities, and how it becomes really memorable. I've had so many doctors coming to my events, and I've had like a couple of doctors that like attended at least 3 events in a year, because they keep coming back, because they see the value that I create for all these people from different industries that are trying to enter longevity. That's how I started the Global Longevity Association. It's really about uniting all the wellness practitioners or people who are interested in longevity industry as a contributor to this, because longevity is not just about what's on your table. It's who you share your food with. It's who you're sitting next to. Of course, that's what creates meaningful life, isn't it?
I agree. Wow. Yeah. So where are you from? How this story started?
Oh my God, that's such a great question. So I was actually born and raised in Russia in a small town, which is like, actually I grew up on a farm. I grew up in an organic farm. Not many dietitians or licensed medical professionals in the States can claim that. I grew up eating organic, homegrown, homemade food from the day I was born. And it wasn't until I moved to the United States that I realized the value of that, right? So it really came a full circle, because as you know, ultra-processed foods here in the United States is the issue, the main concern, and the quality of the produce here is an issue. And now, only now, as a licensed medical professional, I get to understand like the value and appreciate where I come from, because as a young teenager in Russia, I looked at my grandparents and my parents, who still to this day, they grow their own produce. They have gardens where they completely fully rely on like growing the produce and fruits and vegetables. But as a young teenager, I looked at it and I was like, you guys are all losers. You could buy this stuff at a supermarket. You know why? Because it's a lot of labor to make all those fruits and vegetables. That's why now I help to bring awareness to the hard work that farmers do and collaborate with farmers. I'm actually speaking at an Organic Farmers of Florida festival here in July at the University of Florida. Yeah, it's my job to really help farmers to make a living, because it's a hard work that they do, and that's why the industry is so terrible, because they use pesticides and chemicals. Guess what? It just makes work easier, right? And for me, coming to the United States, my first job was Wall Street. A young girl from a small farm in Russia. How old you been when you came? I was 19 years old.
It was your plan? You was dreaming about America?
Absolutely, yeah. I was watching Sex and the City, and I was like, why live this life if you don't live it in a like big and grandiose scale?
You said bye, and you packed your bags and you left?
Exactly, yeah. I didn't speak a word of English. I didn't even tell my parents. I just left. My dad didn't even know.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, and I come to New York, and as God would have it, within 3 years, I started working at United Bank of Switzerland on Park Avenue.
Who helped you? How did you get it? Because I know it's not easy to come to America.
It's not easy, no.
You met amazing, great people who helped you along the way?
Yes, I got married, so I was able to have that security, but I was working a lot. I was working from day one. I went to
What was your first job?
Oh, it was terrible. It was, I was working as a salesperson.
Why terrible?
I don't know. It was just like hard work. I was on my feet all day, every day, selling fancy gowns to mother of brides and grooms and brides, and I didn't even speak English, but I had to sell, so I had to speak. So I was really able to learn very quickly, because I needed to connect with people and I needed to speak. And then eventually I went to school. I have multiple degrees. I studied accounting, and then I transferred into finance, and that's how I ended up on Wall Street.
So what was wrong with the Wall Street? Why you left?
Oh my God, what usually happens? Long hours, high stressful job. I had to compete with men. I was one of those go-getters, like type A personality in Manhattan. I had to be very competitive to get ahead in life. I was in an office surrounded by mostly men, and I was size 2. In my head, I was fat. I needed to be 10 out of 10. I needed to be model thin. I was working every day, exercising, working out every day, waking up at 5 a.m. I was like skydiving, kickboxing, wearing all black, super skinny, and vegan. So that's when I started really trying to get a control.
Experimenting, right?
Trying to get control of what it is that would make me feel a certain way.
Yeah.
That's when yoga came into my life. I still
Okay.
remember my first yoga class. It was incredible. It was just like, it's something like what I loved about yoga. I mean, I hated it at first, but what was incredible was the last part, that Shavasana, when it's like the whole world stopped existing. It was just me on the yoga mat. That's what kept me going back. And then eventually I actually became a yoga instructor.
Wow, look how many degrees you have,
Multiple.
huh?
I love learning. I'm
Me
addicted.
too.
I'm addicted
but
to
I
learning.
see that you are not just learning, but you're going deep.
Yes, exactly.
Certifications.
Absolutely. That's how I get to certify other people now into what I do. It's really been a long but very like heartwarming and gratifying journey.
So you was fed up with Wall Street, and you said, I'm gonna go learn how to eat right?
Exactly. So it came through personal struggle. I've tried every diet. I was vegan.
But what do you mean personal struggle?
I mean, I tried to lose weight. I was bloated. I had skin issues. I went to every doctor on Park Avenue, Korean, Russian, Jewish. I paid so much money with everything I was making. I was like giving all away for those alternative treatments, all these like colonics and all this holistic medicine. It had this like, I had this mindset, it's like somebody else knows and I don't. And then it's like, oh, there's yoga, there's Ayurvedic knowledge, there's the in New York it was like a trendy macrobiotic diet, and then there's vegan, pescatarian, raw diet was trending at a time. So that's what I call personal struggle, because I tried every diet and it was terrible. Let me share with you like how when I was vegan for 6 months, I lost my period. Until I had to introduce a little bit of eggs and some fish. That's when it all came out, because you're basically, your body's in survival mode.
So people who is vegan or...
You have only problem with vegan diet is that you have to be really smart and balanced.
So you need to take lots of supplements.
You don't have to. Not vegan. Vegetarian diet is scientifically proven to be something that's like complete, but you have to be very careful of combining grains and beans to get all of the essential amino acids. I don't think I was doing it right. I was like mainly focusing on vegetables, and I wasn't doing much of the beans and grains and legumes, which are essential and great sources.
So right now you're working with different clients, and you can offer different types of diet based on their problem, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
So for somebody, maybe it's good to be vegan for 6 months, no? Or
depends
vegetarian.
if they're going through like some major detox, or they're going if they have some acute symptoms like I don't know, like cancer or some inflammatory conditions. Yes, that would lower your inflammation. But for most people, for healthy individuals, for childbearing age women, I don't recommend vegan diet completely. But in this book, The Feed Your Hormones, I do outline 1 week, the week right after your period, when you're naturally balanced with your hormones. That's when you can do a week of detox without feeling like there's something's missing in your life.
1 week after the period.
Exactly. No, the week after your period.
The week after. Got it.
So that's when it's okay to be more of a plant-based, but I don't recommend that all month around. And actually, to my vegan clients, I've had a lot of these actresses from Hollywood. They come to me because it's in Los Angeles. It's very popular to be vegan and juicing. I would prescribe them red meat or like high protein intake a week, like during the PMS, the week before your period. And guess what? Those clients would turn into carnivores. You know what that is? It's like a fully vegan.
Yeah.
That's not what I said, but they realize what it does to them, how it makes you feel more satiated, makes you feel more fit and leaner, and that it goes, I mean, it's a different extreme. But, I mean, look, it's easier.
They lost weight.
When it comes to food, a lot of people are trying to control something in their life. And when we're babies, that's how we learn. Food is the only thing we have control over in this life. And it's a psychological issue, and I see a lot of people, like it makes life easier for them. They feel like they have something figured out, something that works, but in the long term, it's not really sustainable. And it's really something that a lot of people come to terms over the years. How is this something that you want your children to do? Not really. Is this something that you could do all over the world when you're traveling and enjoying your life? Not really. So it's the balance that you have to like figure out in your head, the cost versus the benefit. So that's what a lot of people eventually realize after they do the carnivore, that it's like, it's okay to have vegetables once in a while, that it's okay to have, other than meat. Mm-hmm. Because of the fiber. The fiber intake is essential. That's the one for vegetables,
Mm-hmm. So you were studying nutrition science.
Yes.
How long it took you?
It took me a long time because I got a medical license, and it's really something that I committed myself to.
It's a big difference.
Yeah, exactly. Not many people could say that. And also the fact that I got my medical license and I'm licensed to work with, patients of all health conditions, including cancer and metabolic syndromes, but I don't work in hospital settings.
Why?
Because I decided, and I saw our industry being so rigged inside out, and I was like, I don't want to be part of the system. I'm a rebel.
Because then you have to follow what they're going to tell you.
Yes, they killed my entire, because first I became a health coach. I started working on research projects at Mount Sinai Hospital, but then eventually, in order for you to be competitive in New York, and plus, I already said that I'm really hungry for knowledge, I really went on to study nutrition science from NYU, and I got my master's in that from clinical nutrition. But what I learned is that, you just studying to be part of the system. Don't think. Don't care what you're thinking. Let's just do what the protocol tells you to do. Just follow the protocol. And then I've raised so many questions. I went to the dean of the university and I complained. I was like, this is not enough. This program was created in the 80s. We're in the thousands, and you're teaching me this. I was such a rebel. In fact, I dropped out of the master's program. I finished my residency, so I got my medical license. So I am licensed by state and by the nation, but I don't have the university MS under my name because I didn't need it. I was like, I'm not going to be part of the system. So as soon as I left, I actually started working in longevity clinics.
In New York?
In New York with doctors that are focusing on preventative medicine. That's where I learned the gut health. The science of gut health.
They don't teach you this in university.
No.
Gut health.
Thank you. That's why I teach it. That's why I've developed the program. The Gut Brain Method is the first in the world premier school that is aimed at educating our practitioners and the future generations of healthcare and holistic medicine providers in gut health. And thank God, science is finally catching up. My colleagues from Harvard, from Stanford universities are now speaking about this. Even my favorite friend, Huberman, the scientist, Andrew Huberman, what he used to say, he's like, gut health? Oh, that used to be the conversation was not taken seriously in the scientific world. They're like, take it to your food store, the health store. That's where all the hippies go, and that's where they talk about. Now they see how it affects our mental health, our mood, our energy levels, our hormones, and even metabolic health. Everything starts in the gut health. And because I do a lot of diagnostics and I've been in this industry for almost a decade, you didn't ask me that how I developed it, but I'm answering this question. The way I developed my method is that I started to, after years of being in practice, I wanted to expand my practice. And I was looking for nutritionists or dietitians that I could, delegate my patients to. And there's no one. I realized I had to teach them how I do what I do, because I learned it from doctors, from longevity science. And as soon as I started teaching, I turned it into school. And now most of my students are estheticians, dermatologists, and OBGYNs. You know why? Because those are the people in the medical world that see the results of gut health intervention immediately. Because they see it on the skin, they see it in the vaginal health, and they're very interested. Like nurses, most doctors, they're up in their head, they're prescribing medication, they don't care about the holistic approach. But I was surprised because originally I developed my program for health coaches, nutritionists, and dietitians. But the demand that I saw, most of my students are now worldwide, we're certifying dermatologists and estheticians, because they see how, yes, we can provide a quick result, but very often when people are struggling with eczema, when they're struggling with psoriasis, and gut health is where it's at. And just providing some of the protocols that I do really helps people to thrive, especially if it's a younger population group, but even older.
So your system is online, right?
Yes,
person can buy it online.
Gutbrainmethod.com.
How long it takes?
9 weeks.
9 weeks.
Yeah, depending on, if you're studying every week, yes, but sometimes it's longer. But yeah, we've certified over 1,000 students worldwide.
Wow, good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And this is such a great topic, what you teach people.
Yeah.
It's not just to make money. No, you want you want the world to be better.
Exactly. And there's so many students right now that are younger than me, and I see how I'm really creating a new industry and really living a legacy. There's so many girls that come to me in their 20s and their 80s, and they're so grateful for the knowledge that they receive, because it's not taught in schools right now. And most of the doctors that are doing gut health, that's what I realized. They didn't learn it in schools. They had to learn through their work experience, including myself.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how I got into gut health.
It would be nice if you could teach our kids in schools.
Yeah, exactly.
But you only one.
Yeah,
You
no,
need
that's why we're
a lot of
certifying.
help.
Yes, and
Yeah.
hopefully our viewers could also become a gut health expert one day.
Yeah, it would be great actually to do some contracts with the schools and
Yeah.
teach the teachers, because they are examples what
Yeah.
they eat, the kids eating the same.
Yeah, and until the person really feels it for themselves, they don't care. They don't have that connection. You
No.
know? Like when I got a medical license in clinical nutrition, I thought I know it all. Right? I was just like talking about food and like farmed food versus, store bought, until I got eczema one day. And then I was working with major, like the best doctors in New York City. And then the following month, they gave me all the treatments in the world, all the best stuff. And then the following month, eczema came back in a different spot.
Yeah.
That's when I realized I got to look at the root cause.
Yeah.
That's when I did the stool test that I was already doing, the gut health test for my clients. I did it for myself.
Yeah.
And I diagnosed myself with parasites. I created a special herbal protocol. Never had eczema since then. This was like at least 7 years ago.
And how are you making these protocols?
Well, it depends on so there's 5 different factors that play into gut health, okay? Most people are confused. Again, that's why I systemize the knowledge. There's inflammation, right? And then there's microbiome, and then there's digestion and enzymes, and then there's infections with yeast, parasites, and bacteria. So there's 5, and I just named 4. There's 5 different aspects into what creates an optimal gut health. And very often when I test clients, some people have digestion issues, like you were talking about dairy. Happy to cover this subject that has to do with enzymatic insufficiency. For other people, it's parasitic infection, and it's different for everyone. That's why I teach, because everyone needs a special protocol designed for them.
Yeah.
So, and you'll be surprised for those who are watching. I know parasites are trending, but you don't see me creating content about parasites. You know why? Only 25% of people that I test have parasites. Not a lot of people have parasites, but a lot of people have dysbiosis, which is microbial imbalance, like overgrowth of bad bacteria, not enough of good ones. Most people that I test, most of my clients are like athletes, high net worth individuals, a lot of health coaches. They don't have inflammation. And inflammation is what's trending right now.
Yeah.
Exactly. They don't, because they're eating at like Pura Vida, or they're eating like a lot of vegetables or like some healthy. But most of them do have problems with, let's say, metabolic imbalances, like short chain fatty acids development. And that has to do with your microbial imbalance. It's very personalized. That's why I educate people. Like, it's all about education and really understanding what your body needs.
So the first step, what you do with the client is to order a test.
That's
Depends on what's happening, right?
That's actually my second book that I wrote. It's called Utarian Diet. That book came out of this demand that my clients came to me with this questions. They're like, I try to be pescatarian, I try to be vegetarian. You tell me what's the right thing. And I always turn them towards their body. And I said, have you tried listening to your body and becoming a Utarian? So in that book, I outline all of the diagnostics that you could do to get to know your body. Instead of listening to all this advice out there, I heard that, this blogger said that, this doctor said that.
It's too much information right now.
It's all out in the cloud. Instead, get your data and information from inside out. Like, your body tells you that, or as I say, invest your time, energy, and money into getting to know yourself, because the best doctor in the room is your body. Okay, nobody knows better than your body. And I serve as someone who interprets your body to you and your symptoms to you. And so the test that everyone should do is, comprehensive blood panel, obviously, right? Then you can do advanced blood panels to test for all those amino acids and even antioxidants to see if your diet is complete in all those things, or if it's sufficient enough. And then you test for gut health. Then there's hormones, right? And then there's my favorite test for food sensitivities and food intolerance. That's something that life-changing for so many people, including myself. Remember how I said I was struggling, I tried every diet?
Yeah.
Around a decade ago, there was a dietitian that changed my life by changing my relationship with food. Because instead of listening to all this confusing advice, I did that blood test, and she created a diet for me based on my own body responses to certain foods. So she told me to avoid gluten and cow's dairy. Again, let's talk about dairy, right? And alcohol and yeast. And since then, I kept that diet because it was the only one that gave me this empowerment and peace. Instead of watching who's doing what, she's a model. I can't believe she's eating eggs and chicken and she's eating red meat. Or this model is fasting and she's vegan. Who's right? Who's wrong? The carnivore or the vegan ones, right? Doesn't matter. What matters is that you're tracking what's going on inside of you. You're doing your blood panel annually. You're testing your gut at least once a year, and you're seeing what's working for you. And that's the only thing you need to know.
So what is the process after you get the results back? Are you just changing the diet, or also you prescribe minerals, supplements?
Yeah. So we begin my program. I do still see patients one-on-one, even though I don't advertise it, but I still work, because working with students, like you said, like I still have to be very grounded with like working with people. So yes, the first we begin, my program begins with anti-inflammatory nutrition consultation. Then we do the comprehensive testing, and then we follow up with either like more tweaking of nutrition, but very often it's supplemental support.
There are so many supplements. Yeah. How do you know which brands are good? And
oh, that's a great question, sweetheart. I just interviewed. I work in the scientific community. I just interviewed a guy. He's a doctor, and he started. It's called Consumer Labs. So he tests all of the products to see if they're actually what it says they are. And so I just spoke to him, and he tests all of. And you have to become a member because it's not sponsored or funded by the industry. So to become a member, to have access to it. Have you heard of the research of like what they posted about dark chocolate? How certain brands contain heavy metals? Yeah, that was him. He tested all the dark chocolate, and same thing, he tested all of the brands. And I just recorded an interview with him, and we talked about the brands and how very often like it's not what they say they contain. So it's like I do my diligence, for me, because I don't test. I'm subscribed to his channel to find out. But what I do, because I have such a high reputation in the industry, I get to know the founders. Most of the brand founders that I trust, I know them. I know them personally. I know their philosophy. I know why they do that. I know like their whole family, and I know that I can trust that. So like and they do third-party testing to ensure the purity and the high quality of this, hugely isolated nutrient, depending on the supplement. But if you ask scientific community, because I speak at conferences all the time, most of the scientists that are studying longevity, they're still very conservative on supplements. They still say that optimal nutrient intake is where it's at from food. Yeah, so you want to take supplements, but very minimal and fundamental. That's why I'm also very conservative. Like when I tell my clients, like I always try to make sure to optimize their nutrition and only then provide supplemental support, but very minimally.
Interesting. I see you attend so many different conferences. You're everywhere.
Well, it's my job.
What are you getting there? You're meeting new people, right? New devices, new faces.
Yeah. So I've been in this industry for a decade, right? So I really was able to create like a schedule for myself. Tuesdays and Thursdays are my client days. We call them clinical days. So that's where I wear my lab coat. And
what is your office?
I do virtually everything right now. So that's when I transitioned from my office completely into virtual. That's when I started hosting events to really connect with people. But everything's virtual right now. I gave up my office because Miami is a tropical town. So here I don't need to be here during the summer. That's how I was able to establish myself in Switzerland.
But by the way, why Switzerland?
Why not? Because it's the best.
Why exactly there?
Because it's the best. It's truly
I've never been, so.
Oh,
I heard that it's very beautiful.
I made it my second home. Now, honestly, it's the comfort that I get. I love I want to have my second residence there. Like, I love the mountain air and the comfort that I was getting there. It's the English language. It's very English forward, especially Zurich. It's like New York. I love it. Like in English, like, I do my own events there and I feel like I'm home. I don't need to, because Europe is very like.
And you see the difference who is coming to your events in Miami and Europe? You see it's different people?
Interesting. Yeah, because Europe is more conservative. So in Europe, I see a lot of scientists and people who are interested, like who already work in this industry. And
they want to see what's new you're going to tell them.
Exactly. And for them, honestly, I'll tell you, like when the American dietitian celebrity comes in, everyone's like, I'm a big superstar in Europe.
Oh.
No, this American spirit, you know, when they see someone on TV, it's almost like, oh my God, everything's for you. Versus here, you know, we're all hustlers. We're all doing our best. We all are working.
No, I think it's impressive. All the time when I see videos you on the TV, I think it's super cool. I mean, not everybody can be invited to speak at the TV show.
And I made it my comfort zone. Right?
Yeah.
Now I teach others how to be on TV. No, for sure. I love, and versus here in Miami, it's more of a lifestyle. We see a lot of wannabes, the biohackers, the the wellness enthusiasts that are just like trying to, that are educating by their lifestyle and trying to make a career out of it, which is okay. But like with health coaches, that's why I'm very, as you could tell, I'm really promoting education. Instead of just oh, I do this, you should do that too. No, learn about biochemistry and what really works inside other people. So I think, and that's what my book is about, personalization is the future of this industry. And we need to educate more people that it's not one size fits all. And I'll tell you this anecdote that I usually say. The first book on diet and nutrition was written more than 100 years ago. It was written in 1907, and it was about diet, right? So how is it, after more than 100 years, we're still arguing what is the best diet for humans? There's so many advocates and experts, real experts on research, or from Harvard or even Blue Zones, they're advocating for plant-based diet. And then there's all these doctors and scientists from Harvard that are advocating for high-protein diet. You've probably heard. I'm surprised you haven't asked me about high-protein intake yet. In reality, those are two completely opposite approaches, the high animal-based versus vegan, right? But guess what? They're all promising you the same result, health and longevity. Versus I am someone who's licensed in nutrition, and I'm somewhere in the middle, and most people come to me like, you're supposed to know the answer. And I'm like, they are arguing with each other, and I'm supposed to know the answer. And the truth is, it really depends on each person. And I drive it back into diagnostics and data. Even the CGM, that's another one, that's a great one, to learn how food affects you personally. And I'll give you an example. People of Eastern Europe are really sensitive to glucose from, or fructose from fruits versus glucose from grains. Guess what? Because winters are long there, and they're eating more grains versus tropical fruits, versus people from the south, from Brazil and India. They're totally okay with tropical fruit. That's where goji berries, mangoes grow at least, all of the year. You know? So that's why, and we see this. For example, I've had clients who eat the same things. She eats mangoes, her blood sugar spikes through the roof. She eats a croissant, and it doesn't. Right? And it doesn't make sense in most people. Most people think mangoes are healthier than croissants, and they are, because they come with vitamin C, blah, blah. But it really depends on you. It depends on your DNA. And another key here, guess what? I didn't recommend her never eat mango again. I told her, eat mango with some nuts, or with the salad, on top of a salad instead of on its own, really getting to know your DNA and blood sugar, in addition to what I mentioned earlier, the hormones, the gut health, is really where it's at.
Also, it's a great test to do, DNA test. Because it's once a life you do it, and it's never going to change.
I'm going to save you money. You don't have to do a DNA test, but you do have to get a questionnaire, and that's on my website. Whenever I work with a client, there's a questionnaire: how's the health of your parents, and how's the health of your grandparents, where they come from. And very often, I do a lot of DNA testing, but it's not my go-to, but it gives a lot of peace. For example, I've had Ashkenazi Jewish clients, and they're trying to be vegan, and we do this test, and it tells them you need to have half of your intake protein and healthy fats, and they're like, we're not getting enough protein from this, from being plant-based, and that really gives them the peace and sanity. I was you know what?
So what about probiotics?
What about them?
Do you need to take it every day?
Really depends. Ideally, so I was just telling you how I interviewed the Consumer Labs guy. They're testing for the efficacy. Do they really work? Because there's so many strains, and they're all important. There's a gazillion of those strains. And what's more important, the strains amount or the total count of those live bacteria, right? Everything's important, and really depends for who. For some people who are not eating enough vegetables, for sure they should be eating more of those supplements and adding them to their protocol. Most people, they're eating vegetables at every meal and also eating probiotic containing live foods like fermented vegetables, fermented dairy, they don't have to supplement.
What about kimchi?
That's what I just said.
And
fermented
actually,
vegetables.
yeah. Kimchi. I read it says sugar inside.
Depends. You got to pick the one without the sugar. You know how to, without the sugar and without the vinegar. All the pickled vegetables like pickles, sauerkraut, cabbage, or beets or carrots, you have to look for them in the refrigerated section. Everything that's on the shelf very often contains either vinegar for preservation.
You cannot eat vinegar?
No, it's not the best. It doesn't have bacteria then. If it's fermented by vinegar, it's not fermented by thyme and bacteria. That's why it's on the shelf.
Got it.
If you want to get probiotic out of those foods, you want to look for them in your refrigerated
So
section.
it should be no vinegar, no sugar.
Yes, and I've caught like even pickles, you know, pickled fermented cucumbers. You look on the shelf, you look at behind, and one contains 0 calories, which I love recommending as a snack, and another one contains 15 calories. Guess what the difference is? One has sugar, one does not. It's the only difference. That's why you gotta watch out, especially with American stores. Look, I love telling the stories. I love embarrassing myself on the camera because I'm an expert and people think I know it all. I've had situations in my life where I would go to the Whole Foods and I would buy omega-3 rich fish in a glass container, herring, in like some sauce, and I would come home and then I would read the label, and there would be more sugar than in chocolate candies. And I would
you eat
so embarrassed. Of course not. I donated it to like some homeless people, but I was like, it was so bad. And like fish in a glass container at Whole Foods, bought by a dietitian, so proud of my omega-3 and protein intake. And it was like more terrible.
No, we need to pay attention to the labels.
Absolutely,
100%.
yes. Like all the food system is built against you. They're built for profit. And like who adds sugar to the fish? American companies do.
To taste better? Or for what?
It tastes just like American palate, I guess. No, you know they add sugar to what's the like sauerkraut, that's like the cabbage salad, like what is that? Coleslaw. Most of the salad, you're like, oh my God, shredded cabbage with a little bit of mayo, tons of sugar.
Of course.
So you always have to ask if you're buying, because you know I love recommending cruciferous vegetables at every meal, but if it's at a typical American store, you always have to ask if there's added sugar, and high chance that there is.
What do you think about kale? People saying do not eat kale.
Look, it really depends. Some people have kidney issues. Yes, that's when like it's a certain genetic predisposition and sensitivity. I don't think most people have problems with kale. It's a leafy vegetable. It's like cabbage, but in the leafy greens, it has a high antioxidant content because of its dark leafy, and I love recommending it. I love recommending just as much as spinach and arugula and endive greens. And really, when it comes to gut health science, what we provide and recommend, it's called variety and diversity. So if you eat kale every day, of course you're overloading your kidneys with certain compounds, but if you're eating it as a variety once a week or in like, I don't know, 2 to 3 times a month, you're totally fine. So really focusing on diversity and variety. And that's the homework that I give to my clients after the first consultation, to find other vegetables that they haven't had in a while, like bok choy or dandelion greens or Swiss chard.
Yes, sometimes people don't even know how to cook it.
Exactly, and that's their homework, to figure out how to cook. The easiest way is just saute it with a little bit of water, add a little bit of ghee or truffle salt. Everything tastes good with ghee and truffle salt.
I agree.
Yeah.
Wellness industry, it's a huge business and where everything about money, or you don't think so?
Well, we all got to make a living, right? And we're all doing our best. And some of us go to medical school to help people, and then we get out there into the world. I really see myself as an educator. Like I'm like a teacher, but out in the public teaching people on TV, on YouTube, on Instagram, or on lectures, or like at these conferences, really providing education. And then some people, as they go through their career, they're able to monetize their expertise in different ways, because as you know, teachers don't get paid very well, right? So it really is a business to some extent, but it really depends what you choose to do with your degree and your knowledge. So it really depends.
You was married before.
I was.
What happened?
So I got married really early. I moved to New York City when I just turned 19 years old, and I got married within 6 weeks.
Oh my God, why? You fell in love that bad?
Yeah, it was great.
Wow.
I didn't even want to get married, but it felt
He was
good.
American?
Yeah, he was American. It felt good. We were like in love, and he wanted to travel, and I was on a visa, and he's like, let's just get married. I want you to stay here, because I was like, I'm on a visa, like I gotta go in like 3 to 4 months. And then we got married, and we stayed together for 4 years. And then actually, after we got divorced, he died from cancer.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was also like, that year I was going through my dietetic residency, and I was really scared at hospital. So I ended up in a hospital seeing him on a deathbed. It was like a very sad story. My whole life came full circle. That's when, after I did dietetic residency and I worked with a lot of cancer patients, that's when I made it my mission to educate a younger population group on preventative lifestyle. Don't wait until you're 60 and you get diagnosis and then just hope that medication is going to help you.
No.
That's the mindset of old people. You just live your life, do your best, just have fun, and then hope nothing happens. If something happens, like, oh, you get old, you get sick, that's the mentality. Versus now, I feel like we have the potential to change that mentality because we're embracing this lifestyle that is completely different. Everyone's just so proactive and everyone's so thoughtful and educated on what it does to them that I think we're really onto something.
Well, what do you think? He got a cancer because his bad
He was
lifestyle?
very healthy, yeah. He was smoking, he was like living a very stressful lifestyle and didn't care much about healthy lifestyle.
That's why you divorced,
yeah,
basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so after you divorced, how difficult or easy it was to date in New York?
Well, look, I didn't want to get married anymore, so I guess we all create our own challenges. No, I got married really early. I got divorced I was like 23 years old. I was focused on my career. That's when I got into finance. I was working in wealth management, and then I transitioned through yoga and health coaching. I was having so much fun in Manhattan. I was traveling the world, had like incredible dating experiences. None of them led to marriage, but as my mother says, she's like, you didn't want to get married. You would have if you wanted to. I was just enjoying my freedom and really getting to know myself in my 20s, like really having fun, who I can be. I can be a great wife. I can be a great girlfriend. Who else can I be? Can I be a celebrity? Can I be a business owner? Can I be all this like a global influencer? Yeah, and I'm just having fun with that.
What about now? Do you know exactly what you want?
I feel like I'm getting there. Yeah, I'm finally I've accomplished enough success, and I'm really looking to create more balance in life with creating like I'm getting married again.
So what do you think? Miami is a great place to find a perfect husband?
You know what I say? There's a lid for every pot. It's really who you are and what you attract. You can't look, New York is hard, Miami's terrible.
Terrible.
Of course it is. Most people are here having fun and just enjoying their life. No one's looking for serious commitment. And that's another problem with major cities. Major cities attract like all these traumatized personalities that are just like have this ambition or prove something in the world or do something.
And they're looking for better and better and better. That's what I thought when I went back to New York after Miami, and actually I downloaded a dating app and I went for 5 dates maybe, and I'm like, oh my God, these people, they just like going 5 dates per day.
It's called disposable relationship. It's
and then I saw the same guy with another girl in the same place.
Yeah, and they think like the greatest adventure is right around the corner.
Yeah.
Why settle? Why this like developing this skill of like hard communication or having a hard communication if you could just like let go and build something better? Yeah, that's definitely a challenge, and it's something that we all have to come to terms with. Like look within ourselves, start with ourselves, with our community, and then like see out in the world. I'm always in Europe, and I see people are more like people in the smaller cities are more grounded. They're more down to earth. Like they see everyone's getting married, everyone's having children. Like how am I different? Versus those who get out. Those are the ones that like rarely settle.
Let's talk about some famous people who is in the same industry like you, but doing different. For example, Dan Buettner with the Blue Zone.
Yeah.
What do you think about his concept that the people drinking wine every day?
I love the Blue Zone's concept, and I quote it a lot in my lectures for optimal longevity nutrition. My only problem right now is not even a red wine. It's okay. That's like we can talk about stress, and my problem is like the research actually quotes animal protein, fish, and red meat 4 to 5 times per month. That makes it at least once a week. versus what we hear in like social media and then even like some of the talks that are presented now. It's a plant-centered diet. I'm like, that's not what the research confirms, and that's what I quote from the Blue Zone's research, and that's what creates like a conflict for me, because I do recommend a balanced diet that is half plant-based and half animal-based. And then when it comes to red wine, I see that, you know, it's a lifestyle. In Europe, people drink red wine, but in very small amounts. Right, so like here, when we recommend it to people, and like from what we're seeing, like the optimal health research, it's really, if you don't drink, don't start. It's not worth it.
No.
But if you do, choose red wine because it's higher in polyphenols and resveratrol antioxidants, not really super high, but higher than the rest of the alcohol, and choose to not like moderation. Like my rule, I never finish one glass of wine. Yes, throughout the dinner, my friends call me a fake drinker because I sip on it, but I treat red wine because I truly, you know, I'm a foodie. My next book that I wrote, it's called Foodie Diet.
How many books you have?
5.
Wow, good for you. When you have time to
I work hard
to write them.
I work hard because I don't have children, right? I
Yeah.
have all the time in the world to focus on my career right now. Yeah, the next book comes out actually in November. We'll be doing a lot of activations around that. It's through a publishing house, so they own the rights to it. I sold it to them, but it's called the Foodie Diet, and that's where I outline a balanced approach, especially like targeting people who I was describing earlier, not into this lifestyle. My job is to convert them. My job is to educate them and create the difference. So for me, red wine, it's like when I have a good steak, when I'm in Italy, in Tuscany, I need to have a Tuscan wine. It's like, it goes so well with like a good steak, right? But I treat red wine is like a hot sauce. You know, you need it, but you need only this much, right?
Yeah.
So I take small sips throughout the meal, and then as soon as the meal is over, I don't need it anymore. And then I always leave, like I never finish one glass.
Wow, this is a great habit.
Yeah, and never, and remember earlier I said never drink alcohol on an empty stomach. Always pair your alcohol with fats and proteins and fiber.
Let's talk about Andrew Huberman and what do you think about his concept?
Well, his lab invested a lot into creating this whole industry because back, you know, when biohackers became popular, there's no really enough research or evidence invested into like disease prevention. Everything was focused on disease management and what to do with that. And I mean, I got to give him the due diligence. The amount of energy and money is now being invested into researching what helps to prevent the disease. I mean, he's a neuroscientist. He's specifically focused on eyes and brain, right? So everything that he does talks about like the red light and sunlight exposure basically confirms what I recommend. Wake up and go to bed with the rhythms of the circadian rhythms, right? The circadian rhythms, when the sun goes down, that's when everything in nature prepares for rest, for rejuvenation. That's when we should stop eating. That's the easiest. Instead of counting hours, stop eating when the sun goes down. And as you know, it goes down earlier in the winter time, right? That's when we are sleeping more and we need to rest more. And when the sun stays up longer in the summer, that's when most people get more energy naturally, like, and they eat less, right? And so for me, it's really comes down to like what he recommends is sunlight exposure in the morning. That means wake up when the sun goes up, that's what I do. I never set an alarm. I always wake up. I love waking up in the morning because I don't sleep in the dark room. It's not my thing. Sometimes I put on sleep mask, but I love waking up when the sun goes up. Like when the sun goes up, my energy goes up like naturally. I don't need coffee. I don't need to be like, I don't drag my feet. I naturally wake up, I dance, and that's how I hype myself up for a good day. But yes, sunlight exposure. I do these meditations.
Wow, you
sunset
meditate.
And sunrise. That's when I love staring at the sun. Those are my absolutely like, you know, the self-care dates with my soul, I call them. Yeah, Joe Dispenza. I've done his retreats.
Oh,
3
you
years
too.
ago. I'm obsessed.
Oh, me
You've
too.
done it too?
Yeah, I went to five retreats.
So walking meditations. I'm obsessed.
Actually, interesting. You see, for some people, walking meditation works better.
Yeah.
For me, I cannot concentrate. I cannot walk and do something. Like I need to sit down and disconnect. I need not to feel my body.
No, I love, because I work so much. Like for me, walking is when I get my exercise, and it's also when I go out, because in Florida.
But you connecting while you're walking?
Of course. In Florida, you can't even do anything during the day. I remember when I was making a decision to move to Florida from New York, I had this insight. You know how in New York you become what it's called product of the environment? You're like stressed out, highly addictive personality, like type A. Everyone's so competitive, right? Versus I remember like thinking about Florida. I was like, am I going to regret this moving here? Because it's hot here, especially during the summer. It's so hot. I was like, well, I'll wake up at 5 a.m. before it gets too hot, do my workouts, and then stay home, work all day, and become the product of the environment. I only get out of my house during sunset. That's what I do.
But you see, you never regret that you moved, correct?
No, never. Florida has been really good to my soul.
Yeah.
That's where I was really able to spread my wings and, develop my brand here, and my personality here just really blossomed.
What is next for your brand? How do you see yourself in 10 years?
That's a great question. I definitely see myself having multiple residences, in Switzerland should be one of them.
Oh my God, so we're waiting for the marriage invitation then.
That's right, the wedding invitation.
Do you have any boyfriend there?
Not yet, no.
Okay, but you see, at least you know where you want to be.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm also working on Dubai right now. That's where we have our longevity retreats. I do a lot of partnerships in Dubai and Saudi Arabia as well. And so what's next for me is to really, I really aspire to be the woman that has it all. Beautiful family and a loving relationship and a career and legacy, that I've created something for the society that's worth, living up for.
Your kids will be the healthiest.
And
your husband will be the luckiest.
So, yeah. Yeah, thank you, honey.
No. So let's talk about Brian Johnson and him trying to reverse the age.
Yeah.
You know him.
Yeah.
He loves you.
Yes. Well, the thing with Brian, and I work with a lot of his followers because he's very famous in the tech community, I admire his hard work, but however, like when someone looks up to him, I really want to bring it down to the story. Like he's a little bit extreme in his approach, right? Being like only plant-based, taking 50 supplements a day, doing all the technology. But if you really look at his story, if you listen to him, where he comes from, he was on the opposite end of the range and a very extremely unhealthy person.
Yeah, I saw the movie.
He was clinically depressed for 12 years. He grew up eating junk. So basically what he does now, he's trying to undo all the damage that was done to him.
Got it.
So same thing with like scientists from Harvard that are prescribing metformin for everyone for longevity. And I have young clients that come to me like ex-athletes, ex-professional athletes in their like 30s, and they're like, should I be taking metformin? I'm like, are you in your 50s? Like, why are you listening to advice who someone gives you from your 50s? Have you been eating junk food up until your 50s? No, you're doing so much better than this guy. This guy's just trying to undo the damage that he was doing.
But he has followers and he's teaching people to do the same, no?
A little bit, yeah. But like in terms of like nutrition, he never advocates for like everyone else to do. I mean, he sells his products, but in terms of like vegan intake, I spoke with him. He's like, I'm not a nutrition professional. I just do what's right for me. And it works for him.
Ellechka, thank you for such a beautiful conversation. I really enjoy. I learned a lot, and your energy, it's truly spectacular. You just want to listen to every single word you're saying, honestly.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the platform, because I realized very quickly I'm a lot, and my energy is intense.
No, it depends.
Can't handle me, and it's like a lot. That's why I was like, I need to be broadcasting this. I need to be like affecting a larger population group. And that's how I started teaching, and I'm grateful for you inviting me here today and to be able to offer this to to your viewers, a large audience.
Guys, you can find all information below this video. What is your Instagram?
Gutbrainmethod.com is my website where you can get all the guides on candida, bloating, and the UTI, all the books that I mentioned. All my books on Amazon, actually. And my personal website is Ella Davar, and my Instagram is Ella Davar, where you can learn all the latest updates, get yourself invited to our retreats, where I'm hosting a huge retreat in Dubai, actually 2 retreats.
Sounds amazing.
Yes, one in the Palm and one is outside, like in the suburbs, which is incredible. I've partnered with a few sheikhs there, and we're doing,
Look at all these connections, huh? Good for you.
I'm having fun out in the world. Yeah, so we're doing the retreats and we're doing the longevity dinners, but that's what I'm like kind of wrapping up. I want to create a bigger impact. That's why I do retreats mostly. But yeah, the best way to work with me is through learning and becoming the next expert, because there's a lot of room at the top. You look at me, I'm awesome. I'm sure if you watched until the end, you're awesome too, and you can do what I do.
Thank you.